today we have an interesting video on two males that aren't what I thought they were. And honestly, I wouldn't have thought any different, but the babies, they kind of tell a different story. And since we're here and going to talk about some of the babies we produced, if you see anything in this video that you're interested in, shoot us a message. And we'll also be attending Bob's show in Georgia, the Southeast Reptile Expo, on August 9th and 10th. So do stop by, say hello, and check out some of the animals that we're bringing. So the first one I want to talk about is our vanilla sunset het hypo boy that you might have seen, or you might remember seeing, in the last video showing some of our best looking adults. I always figured he looked so amazing because vanilla was really enhancing those colors and giving him a really cool look. Now I do also have a vanilla het sunset female that I would say is vanilla plus something else, but she's a conversation for another day, and unfortunately she's deep in shed, so we'll cover that at a later time. So the first pairing we're going to talk about is again that vanilla sunset het for hypo, and we bred him to a blackhead hypo that was also supposed to be hurricane, but either she's extremely low quality hurricane or it's not in there, and it's honestly not even worth checking the babies out for that. Looking at his babies, they didn't look vanilla. Let's take a quick look at his first clutch now. So now that you got a quick look, you can see that they didn't really have that light head stamp that vanillas typically have, and their pattern was very banded. So I was definitely a bit confused looking at them, and I did what pretty much anybody should do, is take that clutch, put them in their own individual tubs right from the beginning, so that way you can get that first shed and send them in for shed testing. So I packed these up and sent them over to Charlie with ShedTesting.com. And I know you're asking, yes, I could have just tested Dad, but unfortunately he shed fairly recently. I got a sperm plug from him and it just didn't have enough DNA. So with the look that these babies had, I thought that it had to be either Orange Dream, Enchi, or both. So that's what we tested for. So let's take a look at the babies again, this time with their proper identification next to them. First baby we have here is a blackhead hypo that's het for sunset. Probably also has that red gene in there, which is kind of giving that kind of copper color cast going on. But overall, a really beautiful pattern for a blackhead, and of course being hypo, super helpful. And a blackhead hypo sunset is going to look absolutely crazy, so I really look forward to that in the future. So here we have one of the first ones that was pretty banded, and as you can see, really nice kind of banded pattern throughout the entire body. Doesn't really have the typical Enchi head pattern, but overall really nice classic kind of Enchi pattern, and you can kind of see why I thought that the animal would have had like OD, just with that color and even that accentuated kind of banded pattern in there. But either way, still a really cool snake, and being an Enchi double het hypo sunset, cannot go wrong with that. So here we are, and the plot continues to thicken. Again, really nice banded pattern, thin Enchi eye stripes, and again a little bit of kind of flaming coming in, which again kind of led me to believe a little bit of like Orange Dream, along with that really kind of banded look. Oh, don't do it. Don't kiss me. You can see really clean alien heads, really nice banding, and overall, again, really pretty animal for the Enchi Sunset Hypo project. Really pretty girl. So this one here is quite a bit of a showstopper. Really, really beautiful blushing. And so this one here would kind of basically be the blackhead Enchi double het for hypo and sunset. I also think probably that red gene, because you're getting a lot more kind of blushing in between the alien heads there on the tail. And overall, really nice color and interaction between both Enchi and blackhead. I think combos like that, like the Enchi blackhead and like even like Mojave or like leopard in there, really does a lot of really cool stuff with blackhead. And this girl is no exception. She has absolutely crazy, crazy color. Try and flatten her out there a little bit. Yeah, really nice blushing, really cool pattern, really nice dark tones. And I think that combination of both light and dark is going to do some really great things for the Sunset project and overall the Sunset Hypo project. Just giving it a look that you're really not able to replicate with other animals. So here we have a very beautifully patterned blackhead double het Sunset Hypo. Now I did make some sunset. I did make some blackhead het sunsets the other year, and I'm raising all those females up. Hopefully sometime next year we'll be able to kind of make something towards that. But this is another step towards the super blackhead hypo sunset, which I think is going to be absolutely crazy. I really like how dark this girl is, and obviously really nice dark head is what you'd expect from a blackhead. Really nice, well expressed pattern. So this one here is definitely another holdback. And so this is another hypo blackhead that's het for sunset. This one's a female, so definitely going to be keeping her back because, as I just mentioned, the super blackhead hypo sunset is going to look crazy. And this girl right here will help improve my odds on basically hitting the triple, because you're looking at 2 genes of blackhead, 2 genes of hypo, 2 genes of sunset. So really beautiful girl, and definitely going to be staying in the holdback rack. Looking forward to seeing how she progresses, and again, I can't say enough how excited I am for that project. So as you can see, none of these babies tested positive for orange stream. Now we did get the few that did test for Enchi, which makes sense due to that overall kind of banded look and that interaction between Enchi and Blackhead in that one baby. For the most part, I've never really been a huge fan of Enchi and Sunset, but it could just be the examples that I had seen, because my boy has looked phenomenal ever since I got him and has continued to look great into adulthood. Now, figuring out that he has basically Enchi in him is super beneficial when we have additional clutches due to hatch from him. It'll make kind of understanding what we're seeing when looking at the babies just a little bit easier. So now on to male 2, which was our Super Hurricane Hypo Rainbow Boy. And he is, again, featured in our last video, looks amazing. He's a phenomenal looking adult. I really like the color and pattern and everything else he has. And the test results were a little disappointing, but at the same not. So I got babies from his clutch, and it was either really good or really bad. So there was no real in between, mostly. And, you know, I was really curious about that. So I again sent that shed in to Charlie with ShedTesting.com, and he proved out to just be Hurricane. So he is not a super Hurricane, which, you know, you might be wondering why I said that's both good and bad. So he's a really good example, and his babies are also really good examples. So if I'm producing single gene hurricanes that look that amazing, having it doubled up and as a super is going to be absolutely out of this world. So we have also paired that boy to several girls. So we actually have several clutches of babies to show from him to kind of show the great examples that he passed on, and kind of why I thought that he might have still been a super hurricane, and then there was just kind of varying degrees of hurricane expression. And he also recently, well, we also rather recently got an ovulation from our pastel super blackhead female. And I've seen some super blackhead bananas, and they looked absolutely crazy. So having rainbow in there is going to be everything that banana wishes it could be, but better. But that's a ways off from now, because like I said, she just ovulated. We got all that fun stuff to wait for, and then eggs and hatching and down the road production. Still super excited about it. So back to his current babies. So the first pairing, or the first babies we got from him, was pairing him, again, our Super Hurricane Hypo Rainbow, to a Super Gravel. And this was basically done to eventually produce some Super Gravel Hurricane Rainbow things. Like, just that combination would be really crazy in the future, and I think the color palette would really kind of work well with each other. So that first clutch is when I became a little bit suspicious, because we had some stuff that looked absolutely amazing, And then there was one animal in particular where it's like you could kind of like squint and make it up and be like, that's Hurricane, that's got to be Hurricane because he's a super, right? Right? And that's when you had to like really look at it like a little bit closer. So let's take a look at that clutch now and see what we got. If you've been checking out our Instagram, you've definitely seen this guy before. So he has an absolutely crazy, beautiful, full and busy pattern for a Hurricane Gravel 100% het for rainbow. Really, really nice, light, opened up alien heads, lots of curls. I always heard people call them like little bicep curls, like flexing, and that's exactly what this guy has. Very beautiful, selectively bred line of Hurricane to really have accentuated patterns. She's being a little shy and zesty, but as you can see, another really full pattern Hurricane, really nice dark colors, and you also have some really nice kind of alien heads, kind of swirls, kind of all throughout the body. And again, another really, really good example of what a Hurricane should look like. Not as expressive as the boy, but still very, very nice. So this one here is my holdback girl. It's not so much for the Hurricane pattern, although it is pretty nice. It's actually because she has some really, really cool paradoxing on her. And you'll see another animal from the other clutch that also has some paradoxing. Highly, highly doubt it's genetic, but I think this, just as an adult animal in the rack, would look really, really cool. And it doesn't hurt that she does have a really cool kind of Hurricane pattern. Either way, really excited to see what the Super Hurricane, Super Hurricane, yes, but the Rainbow Super Gravel even looks like. That would have to be a really, really cool animal with the look that the Super Gravel bananas and other things kind of within that look have. I can only imagine having the rainbow gene in there just making it that much better. So again, my holdback Hurricane Gravel het rainbow and hypo. Forget about that sometimes. So this is where things start getting a little messy. So whenever I first initially produced this girl, I was thinking, okay, so the first couple had really amazing Hurricane patterns, and then this one just doesn't. She has a really neat kind of split along the body where it's kind of like two-toned, but if you look at some of the alien heads, you'll see kind of these big open eye drops, and that's kind of what Hurricanes have. Now, she doesn't really have kind of the swirls or anything along those lines, but she does have very Hurricane-esque eye holes within that pattern. So this is one of the many sheds that I'm going to be sending over to Charlie just to see if she is a low expression Hurricane or not. I'm leaning towards that she isn't, and I think that might just be gravel kind of giving her that look. But either way, really cool animal towards the gravel rainbow hypo project and super gravel rainbow hypo project, which obviously would be the better animal. But still a really, really nice looking girl. Just not what I expected, but with him not being a super Hurricane, it makes sense. So the last one was definitely a squint and you can see it kind of thing. This one here, though, I think actually does have a really good chance at proving to be basically a low expression or even like a C-grade Hurricane. So if you look on her neck, which she's not really allowing me to do, you can see some very convincing Hurricane kind of eye holes kind of going down the neck. They're just kind of open. They're a little crazy, but not that crazy, but she still has all the same genetics, right? So she is a gravel that's double het rainbow hypo, and I'm hoping that she's just a lower expression Hurricane, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because the genes are definitely there to make some really cool stuff, but she's just not as much to look at. But you can kind of see where Hurricane could be in there. So again, we're going to send that shed to Charlie just to make sure and kind of see what's going on there. Now looking at those babies, you can see why I said that it would be disappointing, but not that disappointing, because the ones that did get the hurricane gene generally are very, very well patterned. And that just means that the supers are going to look that much better, because you're really kind of breeding for quality. You're selectively breeding very high pattern hurricanes into other high pattern hurricanes and stuff like that. And you're really accentuating all of those curls and swirls and everything else that gives hurricane all that character that it has. Moving on to his second clutch. And so that was pairing him again, the Super Hurricane Hypo Rainbow, to a really nice GHI female. And these babies are a little bit more complicated, and we did only get 3 babies due to a couple eggs going bad during incubation, but let's take a look at those now. So now on to the GHIs. So I do believe that this one is a GHI Hurricane Double Het Rainbow Hypo, and again, we have a really cool paradox marking on this girl. So she does have a really unique, kind of strung out pattern that does lead me to believe that she is a hurricane. That kind of pixelated, I don't know, not even ringer, but pixelated paradox area is just really, really cool. I'm really liking the dark colors that she has and how the pattern really opened up on this girl. So this one is a GHI Hurricane Double Het Hypo Rainbow, and really beautiful. Pretty sure this one's going to be my holdback, but nonetheless, really cool pattern, and I look forward to this project quite a bit. So this one here is another really busy pattern GHI. Now, I do believe that this one is also hurricane. If you look, you can see some really unique alien heads, really, really busy pattern, which GHIs can be busy, but typically I feel like they're not this busy. So I am optimistic that she is actually a Hurricane GHI Double Het Hypo Rainbow, but we are going to send that shed in just to confirm, because, you know, just having that extra peace of mind doesn't hurt, regardless of, she is a very beautiful animal, and this one, regardless of that, will probably not be a holdback. But I do think with, you know, how the banana GHIs look, having rainbow in there definitely is going to make it better, mostly as an adult with how it's going to age, because it's going to keep that really nice color without kind of spotting out. So this one here was kind of the one that put the nail in the coffin. Looking at it, I did not see anything that basically led me to believe that this one was a hurricane. It's just a really nice, contrasty normal that also happens to be double het for Hypo Rainbow. So whenever I seen this baby, that's when I was like, okay, the other ones, I could kind of squint and squint and basically see hurricane in them, whether the expression was great or not. But this one, there really isn't a chance. So here we have just a beautiful normal, or classic if you're fancy, double het Hypo Rainbow. So looking at those, you could see that we have some really unique looking babies. The issue is somewhat that GHI has a little bit of a hurricane-like look in themselves. So we did actually package up those sheds as well to send them to Charlie, just to make sure, because I do want to make sure that whenever some of these animals do get sold, that they are properly identified. And it's just easier to do that than to have a conversation with someone 2 or 3 years down the road. Now, if I'm keeping them and it just happens, then kind of is what it is. But I don't want that to be something that happens with someone that picks up an animal from us that later on it isn't what it was supposed to be. And then with genetic testing, that really does kind of help eliminate that as something that could happen. So Charlie is making an official announcement soon, but he did give me the okay to kind of mention this. He will be releasing a full panel test, as well as kind of like a pick your own 10 gene panel test. And that would work out great for situations like this, where I have a clutch of animals that I already know what genes are or should be there. And then there's a couple of things that I'm just not sure about. Something like that would be very beneficial, because let's face it, who needs to test for all of the genes that are on the list? That's too many and pretty unnecessary. But that 10 gene panel is going to be a little bit cheaper, and it'll be more focused on the actual things that are possible within your pairing versus kind of throwing a dart at the wall and seeing what sticks. I think this is going to be super beneficial in the future whenever pricing does come down a little bit more, and it makes sense to where you can actually send in either full clutches or individual animals to just have everything that you know and don't know checked out just to confirm that it's there, especially with these animals where it's a little bit complicated because a lot of different gene interactions and things like that. And now his third and most recent clutch, which was again the Super Hurricane Hypo Rainbow Boy, bred to a yellow belly double het hypo puzzle female. Now with this, obviously the goal was as many as possible hypo hurricane, het rainbow that ended up turning out het for puzzle. So we did get a couple of babies, so let's check those out now. So this little guy hasn't even had his first shed yet. So what we're looking at here is a absolutely phenomenal looking hypo hurricane het for rainbow and possible het for puzzle. So we are going to be testing that. I do not think that he has yellow belly. While it is in the pairing and possible, I don't think he has it. But nonetheless, he ended up with a absolutely crazy looking hurricane pattern. So I am hoping that he's het for puzzle, because that would even put me just on track for hurricane hypo puzzles. And I think adding that into that project is going to be nothing short of amazing. It's definitely the kind of focus of what I'm doing with the collection and the pairings. So I'm really, really hoping that this boy turns out to be a het for puzzle. If not him, we do have this as a backup or second string. So this one, I believe, is a yellow belly hurricane that's double het for rainbow hypo and possible het for puzzle. Really, really hoping that other male proves out. But if not, this guy has a really great pattern. And I do have a couple of hypo puzzle females. So if the other boy doesn't prove out, I can just basically run him as a double het to those double visuals to increase my odds, because his pattern is absolutely crazy. And I do like that heavy pattern that he has. And he has really nice color too. So all around, great boy. A hurricane yellow belly. Work with me here, buddy. Hurricane yellow belly double het for hypo rainbow possible het puzzle. We'll find out soon enough. So unfortunately, I do not think that this one is a hurricane. An argument could be made. She does have a couple of unique kind of neck markings there, but I think she's just a really pretty yellow belly double het hypo rainbow possible het puzzle. So if she does end up proving out for puzzle, then she might be a good animal to hold on to, just to eventually have basically a rainbow hypo puzzle of some sort with or without hurricane. So either way, really beautiful girl. And again, we will be running those tests and kind of see what's going on with her. So again, just a really nice yellow belly double het hypo rainbow. So while the other baby at least had a chance for rainbow, hurricane, I do not think this one does. She just has a very normal, very classic kind of pattern. And again, just a, double het for hypo rainbow, possible het puzzle. Although she does have some crazy little neck markings there. I don't know. But that could just be a little bit of that puzzle influence kind of showing through. Nonetheless, still a beautiful girl, and potentially a way for the hurricane hypo, or potentially a way for the rainbow hypo puzzle. There are just so many genes and so many different things to talk about in this. It just really kind of complicates it a little. But just a pretty girl. So we'll see what the future holds for her. Don't forget, we are going to be in Georgia at Bob's Show, the Southeast Reptile Expo, on August 9th and 10th. We're going to be bringing a selection of ball pythons and blood pythons, some adult and proven females, and a couple of males that we're kind of moving on from. So let me know what your thoughts are about genetic testing down in the comments below. And as always, thanks for taking your time to watch this video, and we'll see you in the next one.